Welcome to Recovering with Becca, an old school drinker who woke up in her 50s only to discover there is life after the bottle. I'm your host, Becca Jacobson, and this is one girl's opinion on why we should get sober and how to do it. I offer short, daily inspirations for 45-plus professional women who are searching for a solution to uncontrolled drinking. If you're undecided, I'm here to convince you to take the leap, and I'm here to help you along the way. Listen, gals, we've wasted enough time, so join me and my group of amazing women on the thrilling road to recovery. Hello, gals. Thanks for joining me. What are you reading right now? Anything good on your shelf that you're looking at right now? Anything you're maybe listening to, an audiobook? I'm reading a really good book by Dr. Ben Hardy called Willpower Doesn't Work. You know, when I was a drinker, I spent a lot of time reading fiction. I was actually addicted to fiction at the same way I was addicted to alcohol. It was an escape route. I spent my whole life doing anything I could to escape being alone with my own thoughts. That was my goal. Just please don't let me, whatever you do, don't make me think about the things I'd done, the things I'd been through, the horrors of being alive. You know, that kind of really weak and pathetic approach to life. I know, it's not weak and pathetic. It was very, very difficult. But instead of facing life, which I highly recommend, I was running away. So back to the point here, in addition to alcohol, drugs, and many other things, fiction was an escape for me. Granted, it wasn't nearly as harmful. These days I don't read fiction. Not that I think it's bad or anything, but you know what? I've wasted over 30 years of my life, so not really much into wasting time these days. So instead, I'm interested in learning, right? And of course, one of the best ways we can learn is through reading good books by people who know more than we do. Usually the best way to go. So this book is by Dr. Ben Hardy, who's actually written, I think, a half a dozen books now, but I'm sure he's got more on the go. It's called Willpower Doesn't Work. And it is amazing. You know, if I'd have known what I'm learning in this book years ago, it just might have made a difference. Now, I'm going to be honest, it might not have either, because I was stubborn and pretty closed-minded and pretty much figured, you know, that I knew what I needed to know, even though what I knew wasn't working. But somehow I missed that point. Boy, I'm being tough on myself today, aren't I? Okay, I guess it's just that I'm spending a lot of time lately looking at what went wrong. How was I stuck for so long? And the reason I'm studying that is because I want to help you and others like you not be stuck like I was stuck. And so I'm exploring, I'm looking, I'm learning, I'm looking back at my life and I'm thinking, how did I miss the point for so long? And so one of the things that I stubbornly believed was that I could I could overcome my addiction to alcohol and whatever using sheer willpower. And of course it didn't work. Now, I never concluded that willpower itself doesn't work. I just concluded that I couldn't use willpower. I was somehow doing something wrong. Well, lo and behold, according to Dr. Ben Hardy and others, the reason it didn't work is because it doesn't work. Willpower doesn't work. You know, I found this same theory in other writings. One of my favorite wise men of the East, Paramahansa Yogananda, who wrote Autobiography of a Yogi, among other things, he writes and teaches that environment is stronger than willpower. That's one of the foundational teachings that he includes. And he talks about the environment in which we find ourselves is going to powerfully directly affect the way we live our lives. And I remember reading that, you know, probably 15 years ago, but I didn't really understand it. And now I'm reading this book, and the same idea is coming out in this book. And, Dr. Hardy's a psychologist, so he's looking at studies, and it turns out it's very true, which doesn't really surprise me because wise men of the East have often discovered things ahead of scientists of the West. But it's nice to have it confirmed, right? So willpower is not as strong as our environment. And this, one of the conclusions drawn in this book is exactly the same thing. The environment we find ourselves in is almost impossible to fight against. So if we're in an environment where there's alcohol in the culture, the culture of the environment, or the people, or the surroundings, or it's part of the way life is lived in your environment, it's going to be incredibly difficult to just stand alone amongst that environment and say, well, I'm not drinking. It's going to be incredibly difficult. In fact, we might argue impossible. We need others in our environment who are also standing and saying, I'm not drinking either. And this, of course, explains the power of community. When we stand alone and just decide, I'm going to just not drink despite what's going on around me. I'm not saying we're surrounded by everybody power drinking all the time, but it just the atmosphere itself, where alcohol is accepted and nobody's really worried about it and nobody's trying to overcome it, we just can't fight against that all by ourselves using our brute force willpower alone. We really need an environment where others are growing and healing and overcoming addictions and obsessions that like us. And of course, you know me, I've been arguing this all along, that we really can't do this alone. We need to get ourselves into a community. We need the accountability. But if you're trying, like I did, over and over and over again to just hold on really tight and quit drinking by yourself, you're just going to end up suffering unnecessarily. It breaks my heart to think about it because that's exactly what I did for years and years and years, wasted and down the drain. So don't do it, gals. If you are trying to quit drinking and you haven't changed your environment, meaning the people in your world, the way you spend your time, I strongly, strongly advise you to shake things up. We really need to shake things up. We need to change things drastically. We need to be willing to, what are you willing to sacrifice? What are you willing to say, I know this is weird, this is going to be hard, but I'm no longer going to live like this, and actually make drastic changes in your environment, in the people you hang out with, in the places you go, in the books that you read, in all of it, so that your environment is changed to a healthy, growing environment where others are growing and giving up alcohol and working on themselves and finding out what life is really like when we don't have to drink against our will. It's very powerful. And you know what, though? When we do that, we don't even need willpower. That's the beauty of this. It's not like you have to come in, bring all your willpower into the community, and then you'll succeed. You don't even need it. You just come in and you're swept along with the beauty and love and support of recovery, of growth. And the obsession just falls away. It just falls away. I'm convinced that's the power of AA, of the 12-step programs. People have various, concerns about AA and 12-step programs and things they don't like about it. But you got to give it, you got to give credit where credit's due. They've been around since the 30s and they still are going strong, and they're all over the world. You can find yourself an AA meeting. And I believe that a big part of that is the community. They do the 12 steps and they have all the other things, but it's the community. It's being around other people who have the same goals, the same difficulties, the same struggles. And it literally makes it where you don't have to fight and struggle. You just follow along with your environment. It's not that you're weak and you're not an individual and you don't get to make your own decisions, but we cannot fight against our environment. And so if you get into a healing environment, there it is. You'll just stand there and go, oh, look at this. This is what we're doing here. This is what it's like here. And you spend some time in that environment and you end up changing. That's what it's all about. So it makes it very easy, very smooth, very healing, very loving when you get into the right community with other people doing the same thing. So willpower doesn't work, gals. Trust me, I know. So if you're still thinking you're gonna use your willpower, please stop, because you're just wasting so much of your own energy. Instead, change your environment, get around others who are growing and healing, and you'll find it so much easier. One way you can do that is you can join my private, exclusive women's group. The link is in the show notes. It's free. And in there, you're going to find women just like you who are giving up alcohol, and you'll get swept up in a healing environment. It's very lovely, very beautiful. Sending you love. Thank you so much for listening. Talk soon. Thanks for joining me. If you know someone in need of inspiration, don't forget to share and make sure you're following and subscribed so that we can get together every day for short inspirations. Let's make this happen. Bye for now.